If you're a B2B service business owner, chances are the industry you're in is high trust. People don't make snap decisions as to working with you. So getting in the room and hosting events can work really well. I've used this strategy in my business for the last 2 years for an event we host here in Sydney called the Wharf Social. But this month I've had to put it on hiatus because I'm going to replace it with something entirely new. And in this video, I'm going to go through my learnings of using an event as a source of pipeline for high ticket services. And what I mean by high ticket is anything over $5,000. And I'll also talk about the drawbacks and the learnings so you can avoid making the same mistakes that I did. So events are awesome, right? You've probably hosted a webinar in the past. You've probably hosted some sort of a masterclass or a workshop. These types of things can be great at bringing your clients in the door and actually getting in the room with them so you can start building up that trust. But there's some downfalls that I want to talk about, and I'll sort of use the Wharf Social as a case study because it was a very ambitious project. So the whole idea was I would host a monthly boat social, which is a networking event for B2B business owners, where 6 to 10 B2B business owners would come along on a boat, and I'll put some footage up here now so you can see the vibe of the event while I talk. And it was awesome because the way I positioned it is it was an anti-networking event. So most networking events you go to, you've got a whole heap of people working the room and firing around business cards. And that really doesn't align with me in terms of my values. When I go to events like that, I can really only hold a conversation with 3 to 4 people. Anything more than that, and I just feel absolutely zonked. So I knew there were other people like me. So I started hosting a $100 event to get those people on a boat, beautiful environment, and it worked really well and people loved it. But here's the first lesson that I want to share with you. Pricing. The first time I ever held the event, I made it a free event because I just wanted to get as many people on board as possible. The learning from that very first event was never ever run a free event. And that includes webinars, by the way, because the average show rate for a free event is about 10 to 20%. I don't know what it is in the air or the water or something these days, but people are a lot more flaky in 2026 than I've ever seen before. You really have to think about what you're going to price it at and how you're going to then ascend those people into the higher ticket service. The cost alone of running these boat events would cost me about $2,000 a month, and it would take me out the game for the entire day. So I started to charge a small $100 fee, which is still making a loss, but it's better than nothing. And really that fee was more a commitment fee, so to make sure that the attendance rate was higher. So if you are thinking of hosting events, make sure you're pricing it in triple figures, in my opinion. Especially if you're going to be giving out a lot of value. You could get away with up to $500, $1,000, $2,000 even, depending on your area of expertise, of course. The second lesson is avoid weather-dependent locations. So what was happening with the Wharf Social is it is the best event when you have the weather, but if there's storms or if there's heavy rain, you kind of have to postpone the event. Otherwise, it's not going to be very enjoyable for anyone. In 2025 alone, I had to postpone 4 events, which is not ideal when you have your pipeline dependent on that one thing. Now, thankfully for me, I do an all-bound system, so that was just one source of revenue for me. I also had ads running, I have an outbound system on LinkedIn, and they all work together as well on top of the standard word of mouth referrals. But a lot of businesses may use their events as their sole source of marketing. So you need to make sure if you are really doubling down on the sort of event format, that you can host it in a location that isn't weather dependent. You also want to host it in a central location if you are doing in real life events. My personal opinion is I think people's capacity and demand for webinars, as scalable as they are for a business, has declined slightly, especially since COVID, where so many of us were on our laptops, whereas the resurgence of in-person events has made a massive difference. This video, I suppose, is slanted towards in-person events. So you want to make sure that that location that you pick is somewhere that's central in a metropolitan area. So we would host the Wharf Socials in Darling Harbour in Sydney. So it probably takes me 45 minutes to an hour to get in there from where I live in southern Sydney here in Miranda. But it's something to factor in if you are hosting events. There's no point hosting something in your local town if all of the opportunity in the business is in the CBD. So that's why I chose to host it in Darling Harbour, and it worked really well because those people who are working in the city can just pop down, be there for a couple of hours. The time that I would host it was 12 to 2, so that worked quite well, particularly for parents. And that sort of segues to the next element then, which is the time that you do it. So in terms of events for particularly B2B business owners, if you want to reach them en masse and get a lot of people in, you want to do it in the morning if you can, especially before 9 a.m. That is statistically the best time to get business owners to do any sort of event, right? The problem with that is you have a lot of business owners, like small business owners, who like to network. Some of them may have kids, have drop off, whatever else. So they may not want to go to your event without, a proof point. So if you can't do the morning time slot, the other extreme then is doing the evening time slot. So I've done all of these slots, so I can tell you the pitfalls of each of them. If you do an evening time slot, and it's sort of a social networking type of vibe, what tends to happen at those events is you can have people, a lot of people roll in late to them because they might have got caught up at work, whatever else. And for my event in particular, the Wharf Social, what was happening is it was a 2-hour event, but people will actually stick around for a hell of a lot longer. So if you have places to be after the event, or you want to be able to get home in time to see your family, your kids, whatever else, an evening event may not be the best thing for you to host personally, because you don't want to be the person that's hosting an event and then has to leave straight away afterwards. And there's also parents as well. It's harder for parents to go to evening events because there's pickups and things like that. So that's the evening event side. The pros of it are, of course, that you can develop great relationships over a drink or whatever else in the evening. But at the start of this year, what I did was change it up so that I would host them 12 to 2, so basically the lunchtime slot. And that worked really well, mainly because, believe it or not, with the boat social that I host, I would drive the boat to Darling Harbour, and for the evening events, I would actually sleep on the boat overnight. So when I did the evening events, it would essentially take me out of the whole day, the day of the event, and the morning of the next day. So it became less feasible for me in terms of time. So it was sort of strategic as well to switch it to 12 to 2. But when I did, I got a lot of parents and things thanking me, like, oh, this is awesome. I can actually finally make it because it's hard with me with drop off and everything else. So I think that a lunchtime slot is probably the optimum if you are wanting to get new people in who don't know you, who don't know the event, because it's an easier thing to commit to. If you're going to be doing something regular, morning time works best. But I think for most people, picking a time that sort of 12 to 2 or 12 to 3 slot is really good. That segues into the next part, which is capacity. Really important. So my event was all about an intimate event, an exclusive event with a small amount of people. That is really effective from an event point of view because it means everyone can get a really good connection and have deep conversations. And every event's been like that. The feedback has been that's been so much better than the usual big events that we usually go to. The downside of an exclusive event like that is all it takes is a handful of people to decide they can't make it at the last minute, to take an event that would have a great vibe to being sort of feel like it's really quiet. It happened once with us. We ended up, a lot of people bailed, and I think the lowest number we ever had an event was 3. So that's, it's still good from those 3 people had, great conversations. But if you are having an event that is an intimate event, try reducing the frequency. So because I was doing a monthly event and people knew it was monthly, what was happening is if people got busy, they would just decide, oh, look, I can't make this one. I'll come to the next one. And I would let them roll their ticket over. But what ended up happening is the event was sold out every month, but a lot of those sellouts were due to having to fulfill previously postponed tickets. And it was really interesting on those events, speaking to people, learning about how they like to operate with third-party suppliers. What ended up happening for my event and why I've chosen a new format, which I think is going to be valuable for you as well, a lot of people, there was a great popularity for group events. There's a lot of group sort of format delivery these days because they're scalable. What I found, both with running the ads and running this event, there's a real demand for that one-on-one approach. From a business owner point of view, it's very hard to scale one-on-one. But what I'm now doing is basically doing a hybrid model where I host the event, but make it a clinic format for people to drop in one-on-one. So what used to be called the Wharf Social, I've now basically put that on hiatus. So I'm only going to host Wharf Socials for strategic partner events and our high ticket clients for them to use that as a resource. What that has done now means the Wharf Social is a scarce resource because it's not going to happen every month. It's going to happen when it happens. And if you want to jump on, the idea is when it's more scarce, demand increases, you can also charge more for that event. But now with this one-to-one clinic format, what I'm doing now is basically taking a similar time. So I've taken 12 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and people can come in. There's 3 slots every day for people to come in and work with me one-to-one for a quick deliverable that you can charge not high ticket, but certainly mid ticket for. So in my case, because we do all bound LinkedIn, so all bound, for those who aren't familiar with it, that's using content, events, outreach, and ads all in one unified system. So I'm taking one element of that we can help with, content, and make it a really easy drop-in session where people can come by for half an hour and shoot 3 months worth of videos in that session just by interviewing with me. What that now does is allow me to charge $2,000 rather than $100, because the whole idea is we can do everything end to end in one sitting in half an hour. And for time poor business owners, that's a really compelling proposition. And why I want to share that idea with you is because low ticket ascension. So what I mean by ascension is someone buys your $100 thing and ends up paying $20,000 or whatever it is your premium services cost. That ascension rate is 5%. So it's very low if you're running and that's why I'm really anti-low. You know the way that you sometimes find those low ticket funnels where people run ads to something that costs like $50 or $97, and the whole idea is the ads get taken care of, you get liquid cash on the front end, and then you can upsell on the back end. That's not really worth it, because the kind of people who buy a $97 digital product in the age of AI are a very different type of client to someone who's going to pay you $20,000 to solve a major $1 million problem. But that $2,000 one-off commitment where they can actually get a lot of value and really only have to land one client to get a return on their investment, that gives you the benefits of a decent cash injection. So if even one of those slots out of the 3 in your one-to-one clinic format work or get filled, it's still worth your time going and doing that. And then from there, obviously, when you've delivered your one-off deliverable and they've learned how you work and how you operate, it's then much easier to have a conversation to take someone from $2,000 to, say, a monthly recurring model thereafter. So if you're in Sydney and you're watching this, or even if you're in Australia and you want to check out the Wharf Content Clinic, where you can come along and shoot 3 months worth of content in half an hour, I'll leave a link to the offer document. So it'll literally have the pricing, all of the deliverables, everything else, so you can see it right there and make a decision for yourself. Because the other final point that I want to mention around that sort of $1,000 to $2,000 price point is it's actually very easy to make that decision as a business owner without needing to jump on a sales call. Because that's a big drain on most B2B founders, is having to jump on and sell people. A lot of people don't like that. So when you can put it out in black and white, exactly what they get, how it all works, with obviously social proof to back up why you're good at what you do, it doesn't really require a sales call. So you can check out that document now if you are based in Australia, and even if you're one of my followers from overseas, you can do that as well and check it out. And let me know in the comments, do you think that this format is something that is going to work for your business? Because I'm really keen to see what other people are doing, and because I believe in-person events are so vital, so fun too. Now, if you're someone who's thinking about, recording content and finding it difficult, This video that I'm about to show you next will show you how you can easily create video for yourself and make it something that you can do sustainably over and over again. I'll see you in that video now.